let me mess with that a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's a little better now. I can tell that there's like a recce in the room. Hi, I'm here. Hello. I'm Matt Shipman. If you don't know that, I don't know necessarily why you're here unless you're accompanying someone, but I will explain who I am. I'm a voice actor primarily, and I do ADR script writing, engineering, and sometimes directing as well. Um, and that's mostly it. I am in a lot of anime and stuff, so I'm in Escape the Infinity, which I'm wearing a shirt of too. Um, and as Reki, the lead character, and then I'm Chrome and Doctor Stone, Ines and My Hero Academia, Flock and Attack on Titan, Hito and Darling and the Franxx, whole bunch of stuff. So we're hanging out. We're gonna talk, and I'll answer questions and stuff like that. So I don't know what the like format is for you guys, but feel free to submit those questions, and I will talk until there's a question. I'll just make something up to talk about. I heard audio, but I'll just let.
Okay. What is your like you've ever said of all time? Just like overall.
Favorite line?
Line. Oh, geez. That I've said or that I've like written. All right.
You gotta do a hard one. I'm really good at asking hard questions. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's because there's so many funny ones. Like off the top of my head, a lot of them are in Skate. If we're talking about like me acting, because that script was just funny, you know. Like I got to like the line said "What's up," and we were like, "All right, what if it's "What's up" instead?" And it's like, yeah, whatever, that's funny. And I don't know what, like, you know, berating the other characters for wanting certain food. Grow up, and then I want pizza. Like really happy right after that. I'm like, these lines are so simple, but there's just like the pleasure of making them into something funnier. um,
They're my own favorite.
I only heard some of that. We do have our connections a little blab, but if you feel like translating into the chat, I will read it. But if I hear it fully, I'll respond such that I hear it.
Do you have a favorite role that you've played?
Favorite role?
Okay, so that's a bit of a tough one. I mean, I've played a lot of roles that I really like. I want to say at this point, role is probably Reki and Skate. But again, I feel like that ties into the fact that the script was so funny, and so I got to do a lot of fun stuff with him. And he has like his emotional journey and stuff like that, which you see in pretty much any main character for any show worth its salt. You know, you'll have like some moments of brevity and moments of really serious stuff, and but that show had really fun writing, and just because so many people like the character, it like makes me think back to it more often and go, yeah, that was fun. But my other answer is and I do love this character, but I think it's more about the experience of working on the show than anything, which is Hiro and Darling and the Franxx. I really, really loved working on that show specifically. I was working with a very good friend of mine, Clifford Chapin, was the director. The show itself I love. The ending is a little controversial in terms of whether people think it's good or not. I think it could have used an episode or two more to like tell the exact same story, just slower, but I do think the meaning and symbolism and everything behind it checks out with the story and makes sense. But the experience was just really good. Like me and Cliff, like, and all the other actors, like we knew what the show had to be. It's very like subtle, realistic stuff, you know, except for the moments where they're in giant robots and antics are happening or something. But for the emotional moments, I still kind of chase that Darling and the Franxx high. I'm like, man, I wish I could do another show where I could be as subtle and real as I was in that show. So I really value that role too. But if I think about characterization, if I'm like, is Hito as cool or fun as Reki? No, like he's not. He's a complicated character and I love him, but he's much more of a self-insert than Reki is, who's like a full-fledged character. So I see a chat thing. If I could take a shot of any condiment, what would it be? Are you saying if I had to? Because I don't think
it's a had to situation.
Okay, good. How big is a shot glass? I don't drink. It's like this big, right? Like a little like
Yeah.
ketchup, because I
Yeah.
think I would just eat it and be like, that's fine, I guess.
Hmm.
I don't want to. I mean, if I did like, I don't know. I feel like someone fun could be like wasabi or something, and then it would just be like, yeah, but you'd be in pain for hours. Like if I was forced to do this, I'm not gonna do a thing of salt, or I guess I could do sugar and survive, but my health would tank immediately. I'm gonna go with ketchup. That's my final answer. um, and I can I just say to all of you here right now that I love like stupid nonsense questions like that. You know, if you're gonna be like, what's your favorite bird? You know, I don't know. I'll have to make an answer up, but it's fun to talk about. So don't feel like you have to have some like super deep question about my career and the art and stuff like that. You can just be whatever the hell you want to ask. I can't guarantee I'll answer every question if you ask something weird, but I encourage an appropriate level of weird.
You guys have any regular or weird questions?
I got
Well, what is your favorite bird, and what is your least favorite bird?
Oh God. Okay, now I have to actually think of the answer. My instinct for bird is like shit. I'm like, excuse my language, is the Jean bird from Darling in the Franxx an actual no, it's like a bird of legend because they only have like one wing and they have to fly together. Can I do that? I'm looking it up right now. This is what I it's a legend. I'm going to say that it's not a real bird. It's a bird that only has one wing, and so it needs to find a partner to like hold on to so they can both use their wings together. Least favorite bird? I'm trying to think of what birds have wronged me in the past. I grew up in New York on Long Island, and there are a lot of geese there. And oh man, in my middle school, we would like go out into the the field, into the yard for recess or whatever, and I remember there being so much goose poop everywhere. Like
Yeah.
couldn't step somewhere. And it's not like there were that many geese like around. I would see maybe one or two way into the distance, way further than we were like allowed to go for recess, but like soccer fields were out there for practice and stuff. There'd be like two, but there's just so much goose poop everywhere. And my school's colors were green and white, and so is goose poop. So I used to make jokes about that. So let's say geese. I don't hate them, but they've wronged me the most. I bet I have the most bird poop on my feet, like geese bird poop on my shoes, than I've had anywhere else. So, or that from versus any other bird is what I meant. Sorry, than anywhere else. I got geese poop on my shoulder. No,
That's a legit reason.
I mean, what it is the reason I had to come up with to answer the question in an entertaining way. if I had like a day to think about it, I'd have to like. No, I don't think birds have ever really wronged me in any particular way. So I play a lot of characters that are like related to birds. My Yu-Gi-Oh character's entire archetype of cards is bird related, and Hiro from Darling in the Franxx is bird related, and I don't know, Enos I Can Fly, that counts. Whatever.
Cool. Questions? Yeah.
I'll ask one.
Sure.
With the Dr. Stone Reuse Suite special coming up in season 3, how excited are you to get back into working on that and having a new cast member to?
I think I heard pretty much all of that.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go. I'm super excited. I love Dr. Stone. Man, I sit here and get jealous when I see like Funko Pops of every other show that's big get like, you know, I'm like, why isn't there like some Dr. Stone ones? What the I love Dr. Stone, and Chrome is a character that I wanted to be like and it was a character. There are very few characters in my career that like sorry, I know I'm not answering your exact question this second. I will get to that. I just want to talk about Chrome for a second. There are very few characters in my career that like I looked at a character and I was like, I think I'm gonna play them, or like I even had any sort of real connection with, and then I was cast as them. And Chrome is one of them, where like episode 1 of the show aired, and it was like, okay, so Aaron Dismuke is Senku, Rika Fajardo is Taiju, and my wife Brittany Lauda is Yuzuriha. And I was like, all right, well, this show seems really cool. I'd love to be in it somewhere. I wonder what the other characters look like. And the opening showed all the characters that show up in episode 7. And I, like a lot of other people, at a glance, when you're not thinking about it because you're just seeing the opening, I thought Chrome was Taiju because they're just brown-haired dudes, even though they look very different when they're next to each other. But when I realized that he was his own character and I looked into him, I was like, And Brittany and I were watching the show subtitled every week because she was in it and we wanted to see what was going to happen. And when Chrome showed up, we both kind of sat there and were like, who are they going to get for this other than me? Like, there are other people who could do it, but who are they going to, like, are there people who they would actually pick? Or are they going to pick me? And then I got picked. I didn't audition or anything. It's Cliff again, who directed Darling with Franks. He directed Dr. Stone too. And he's like, yeah, Matt, you're going to be that guy. He told me in the past he actually had a different character in mind for me in that show. And then when the Seiyu spoke for the first episode, the Japanese voice actor, he was like, oh, that's not quite Matt. You know, it's more Matt. Chrome. So I love that show. I'm really excited for there to be more. I did the entire season 2 from my home here, this studio I'm in right now. And we actually, Brittany and I did the commentary track for season 1 via this method too. We like connected with actors across the internet and stuff and did the commentary that way. And they don't want us to tell you that, but that's what we did. So I'm very excited about it. There's a part of me that's almost worried about Ryusui in particular because I know who I want to play that part and I'm afraid it won't happen. I don't want to say who, but I'm like, oh, I had this one person I want to play this role. So I'm excited to see how that goes. Yes. I'm going to say that's the end of the question. There's some stuff on my mind I might want to say about Dr. Stone, but I don't think I should yet because it's not, I don't know. There's stuff I can't exactly talk about just yet. That's not to say we're recording anything just yet, but that's where I'm going to end right there on that question.
Little sizzle. Any other questions?
What inspired you to get into voice acting to begin with?
What inspired me to?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell my story. Okay. I was watching TV with my friend once, and a commercial for the dub of Bleach came on. Like it was, you know, the show was going to premiere very soon. This is years and years ago. It's for Adult Swim or whatever. And it was my friend heard it and said to me, I watched that show in Japanese on the internet, probably illegally at that point, because there was like it's not like today where everything's on Crunchyroll or something like that. He was probably just watching it on some illegal streaming site. And he was like, and I don't like what they did with the main character's voice in the English one. And I was like, wait, what? What does that mean? What do you mean? And he's like, well, I watched it in Japanese and it's a different guy, obviously. And I'm like, right. Oh, huh. And then I kind of just thought about it and I looked it up, and it turns out that actor who played the main character, who I think does a very good job at that character, by the way, my friend was just used to the Japanese version. I looked him up, and it's Johnny Young Bosch, who was the actor who played my favorite Power Ranger growing up. So I was like, oh, actors can do more than one show? And voiceover, like, I might not even know it's them unless I look it up. So I basically discovered what voiceover was through that, I want to say epitome, you know, it's like, is that the word? Realization. It's like you don't think about it. There comes a point in your life where you acknowledge and recognize the fact that, like, cartoons you're watching, for example, every single epiphany, that's the word, thank you. What did I say?
Epitome?
Epitome? Yeah, that's not right. I knew something was wrong. There comes a point where you like recognize, oh, this cartoon I'm watching didn't just exist. Like someone had to create every frame of animation for it. Someone had to write it. Someone had to design the characters. Someone had to act out those characters and different actors and stuff like that. And so once I like basically came to that realization that was a job, I was like, that seems so cool. And so I went on the internet and kind of looked into it and joined like amateur forums and stuff like that, where amateurs, voice actors would gather and would either audition for like low budget commercials or indie video games or something like that, and kind of, what's the word? Is it skill up? I want to say, like, grow their skills, get whatever, cultivate. I don't know. I can't speak today, clearly. So I did that for a number of years, and well, before a number of years, like within a year, I was like, this is really cool, and I think this is what I want to do with my life. And I was 14 when I discovered all this stuff, and I was like 15 when I made that decision. And then I'm 29 now. I've been doing this for like 7 years, so it took another 7 years after I decided I wanted to do it to do anything that anyone cares about. You know, like I did a couple of indie things on the internet that paid me. I did a lot of things that didn't pay me in the beginning because that's, you know, they're very low budget or something like that, and I just wanted experience. But I booked like Yu-Gi-Oh, which was kind of my first thing, about 7 years ago. And 7 years before that is when I said I was going to do it, so it took a long time to get there. So the inspiration kind of came from just discovering what it was and being like, this is cool. Like, can I do that? Like, what do I have to do that? And then I like went to school and didn't, because my parents were like, well, you got to go to college because this isn't going to work out. There's no way you're going to become an actor that can live off of acting, because I don't know if you know this, but anime especially pays very little, because of some, like, what's the word? Like the precedent that years and years ago people looked at it as, oh, you were listening to a Japanese performance and copying it. And it's like, dude, I don't know what's going on in the Japanese performance. I don't speak the language fluently enough to understand the emotional beats of that. We have a script in front of us. I'm going to play to that and do my own performance, and it should be similar because it's written to be that way. So it doesn't pay very well. And just in general, the idea of your kid going, I'm going to be an actor, the parents are like, no, you're not. Like, you can try, but don't make that your only path. So I went to college. I went to college for nothing related to acting, but I took acting classes as well on the side and stuff. So yeah, that's inspiration was basically just finding out what it is. And then I did it after many years of trying to do it. What's my favorite pun or dad joke? One sec. I don't know if it's a pun. It's not even really a joke. Can I just tell you a quote that my dad said to me years ago, that me and Brittany always like to joke about? Because it's basically a joke because we just say it all the time. It was one time I was a kid. My family was leaving to go do something, like some event or something we had to go to, and I guess we were taking separate cars for some reason. Maybe we were going to pick up some people along the way, so we wanted to take, my mom would drive one, my dad would drive the other, and me and my dad were ready, and my mom and my sister weren't, so my dad was sitting around, whatever, and when we finally decided to go, he had just gone to the bathroom, like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes before, and then he was just like, hold on, I'm going to go to the bathroom again, and I was like, didn't you just go? This is me being a child, and he was like, yeah, we can always pee a little. And this is
Wait,
that
again?
You can always pee a little, is what he said. And I was like, I mean, kinda, I guess, yeah. Like, unless you just did, you pretty much can So we always joke about that. Anytime someone like goes to the bathroom and it hasn't been that long, like it hasn't been hours, like, I can always pee a little. Not really a dad pun, but it's a unintended dad joke from my dad that that I have turned into a joke there.
I don't know why it took me that long to understand.
I mean, probably because I didn't tell it very well. If there was a question, I didn't hear it because of the choppiness.
Yeah, there wasn't one. Oh, so you're also a director and a writer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said before, you want to kind of just give us a rundown how you went from voice acting to getting into that stuff?
Remember the part where I said that voiceover and specifically anime doesn't pay very well? You go, okay, well, what that isn't a day job that's related to the stuff I like and care about can I do? So I, pretty early on, I was living in New York City. I grew up in New York, but I didn't live in the city. I moved to the city for like a year, maybe about a year into me working on Yu-Gi-Oh, which has like Yu-Gi-Oh that each season runs for like 3-ish years, so I knew what to expect. So I moved into the city being like, well, it's going to be an easier commute, and maybe I can focus on my voiceover career if I'm in the city proper. I can just get to places quicker. And I had a day job too when I was in the city. But I wanted to get away from that. Basically, I was like, all right, how can I build a foundation for myself to make enough money to live off of this, so that I don't have to like change or schedule all my voiceover around my day job, because that's going to be very difficult. So I looked into script adaptation, and at the time, my wife Brittany we weren't married at the time. We weren't even together at the time. We were together in high school. We broke up during college and then got back together afterwards, after we both had started our careers independently of each other. And now we're married after years. But at the time, she was working at Media Blasters, kind of establishing their own like in-house recording stuff. And I just was like, hey, do you need writers? And it turns out they did, because however they had done it before, they just took the translation and kind of like winged it in the booth, and that is not a good method. And Brittany knew that. She was like, we can't do that. That's bad. So I basically offered to write a short show for pretty cheap, because I had never done it before, and kind of get my feet wet. And I bet I still have the texts from... let's say his name a third time today, my buddy Clifford Chapin, when I asked him, hey, how do you format an ADR script, an anime script? And he just sent me like this long thing, because he had been doing script writing at that time too in Texas, where I am now. And he was getting into directing and all this stuff, whatever. So he sent me that, and I kind of followed that guide and created my own version of that template for Media Blasters, and I did that. And then I was like, well, I've done it a couple of times. Okay, like I wrote half of the next show they did, charged a little bit more because I knew what I was doing this time. And then when I moved down to Texas a little bit later, Cliff was... what's the word? He was moving more into directing than writing. He was acting, writing, and directing, and that anything can be exhausting if you do too much of it, of course. But it was exhausting for him, so he wanted to drop one of those. So he dropped writing for a while. I don't know if he's written again since. And so when he told his essentially his writing boss at Funimation, he was like, hey, I'm gonna have to stop doing this. He was like, I have a friend of mine who's done this for other markets, other clients and stuff. Here's his stuff if you want to try him out. And so he kind of like put me through the like audition process for writing. And that didn't go so well initially. It got to a point where I was on the phone. I'm not going to name the name of the person, but I was on the phone with the person who at the time was kind of the liaison between Funimation and the writing team. And we were discussing my version of a script he sent me. It was a show that he had written years prior, and I wrote half of an episode of that show without looking at his version at all. And we compared them just to be like, okay, what kind of things are you doing right, what kind of things are you doing wrong? And at the start of that like hour and a half long phone call, he was like, I feel it. You're throwing darts at the board and you're trying, but you're just kind of missing all the shots. And I was like, okay, so this guy's not going to hire me. So the best thing I can do is at least learn as much as I can from this phone call, whatever. So I proceeded to have no fear about the phone call anymore. And then I was just like, hey, how come when this character was entering the room on like a weird space elevator thing, they responded to a thing that happened like 15 seconds prior that they never would have been able to hear because they would have been on the elevator? And he was like, no, that's a good point. And I did that like 5 more times. Basically, I kind of picked apart his script and I was like, what's the deal with this? And like, it was like a space show and I used the word mail. Oh, this thing came in the mail. And he was like, but you don't know that the mail is established in this universe. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a space world. Like, they have an equivalent. Like, I feel like there's a way we can write around that, even if I don't have the full story. So we had this like back and forth, and by the end, he was like, all right, so next time, here's what you're going to do. And I think I sold him on it. And then, like, within 2 weeks, he just gave me my first show, which was New Game. And then I wrote that, and he looked over those scripts and were like, actually, yeah, this is pretty good. And I just have been going since then. There's a lot of things in this industry where you are just kind of thrown into it, and people hope you do a good job, and if you don't, the product still gets printed because someone else made up for your errors somewhere else in production and made it acceptable, but maybe you don't get hired again. But if you do a good job, then they will keep hiring you. So I guess I did a good enough job from then on, and I have gotten a lot of positive stuff from my scripts from people, from directors and stuff who've worked on them, so I like to think I'm okay at that. Uh, but it pays so much better because it takes forever. It can take anywhere from like 15 to 25 hours to do one 23-minute anime script. And that's actually a 20-minute anime script because the opening and ending make up 3 minutes of the runtime. So that's how I got into that, and that's what that is. And directing was basically a consequence of knowing Brittany and the two of us having similar desires for how a product would come out. And so, like, when she was going to be acting in something, or and so she couldn't be directing herself. You can do that, but some people prefer to have a second set of ears basically sitting there being like, hey, did I actually do that right? Or when she was going to be out of town and someone else was going to needs to come into town and do some acting, she needs someone to cover for her, I kind of learned that way. And I don't direct very often. That's why I kind of listed it as like my fourth thing. My order is actor, writer, engineer, director. But I would say I'm not very good at directing, but you just kind of pick it up along the way. If you have really good actors, they kind of do the job for you and you don't have to worry about it. But the critical component is, one, making the actor not feel like shit if they're not giving you... I should ask if I am allowed to say bad words. I don't know. But, you know, not making the actor feel bad if they're not giving you what you want, which is very, very easy. I worked with a director literally yesterday who, when I gave a read, he was like, there's like a weird breath thing going on there. Why don't we just do it this other way? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, it was a breathy read. I gave it to you that way because I thought that was in line with the direction you gave me. But okay, like, cool, call my instrument weird. That's great. Thank you. You know, you want to avoid stuff like that. There's a way to say, hey, you're not giving me what you want, but doing it in a positive way and trying to explain what it is you do want. So that's what directing's like. And why don't I go into engineering unless anyone has any questions? I'll just keep going. I'll give you a second to think about that. Yeah.
Have you ever thought or have cosplayed any of your characters or maybe some of your colleagues' characters?
What was the last part? Or maybe what was?
Or colleagues' characters?
Colleagues' characters. Okay. You know, no. And it's funny because I did cosplay before I was an actor, before I was like a professional voice actor. I cosplayed Yosuke from Persona 4. I cosplayed Suzaku from Code Geass. I cosplayed Gokudera from Katekyo Hitman Reborn. And more than that, I think. But we went to like cons. Like I had a whole group of people for Reborn cosplay. Like 8 or 9 of us all in like suits with like custom like weapons that were made and stuff and like wigs and that we were at Otakon like in 2013 or something. But there came a point where I was like, do I want to be someone who is a cosplayer who becomes an actor, or do I want to be an actor who maybe cosplays in the future because that's kind of funny and cool? So I kind of just shied away from cosplaying for a while because I really didn't want... The same way that, you know, like, do you guys know Sungwon Cho? He's a voice actor. He's known as... He's internet handles ProZD. He makes a bunch of, like, funny skits on the internet and has for a number of years. He's a very talented actor and good person, but he has a successful YouTube channel. So even though he has hundreds of credits to his name, every time his name is on a cast announcement, someone in the comments is like, why did they put, like, a YouTuber in this game? And it's like... because he's an actor. But it's because he was a YouTuber first and known for that and then became an actor. He can never get rid of that old thing. I didn't want that. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to get, you know, it was best worst case scenario. I was thinking if I get known for cosplaying, not that I was planning to, but I didn't want someone to see me as I guess an amateur or a fan in the community and shy away from that. There can be a stigma in the world of voiceover for anime in particular that people just want to be in anime, you know, they just want to be anime characters in some way, so they like don't actually take the acting part of it seriously. Thankfully, I'd say as the years have gone on, that's become less and less of a concern, but it is a concern that any new person still has. Like everyone who's smart in the world of like anime voiceover comes into their first few sessions and acts like they have no idea what is going on in the story that they're working on. You know, like if they're doing Walla or you know, bit parts for Attack on Titan, you go, okay. Oh yeah, this is the show. Okay, there's big weird humans that eat people. Haha, that's funny. Like you haven't watched all 60 episodes of the show already, because you don't want that stigma. So, I want to cosplay characters that I've played, but the ones that I kind of want to cosplay are so complicated. I mean, you're cosplaying as Reki right now. He's got kind of a complicated design. Like his hair's really specific. If I wanted to get that wig, like, because you got the long hair version, you know. If I wanted to go for what it is in the show, like, I don't know, I'd have to get that styled and stuff. I've got that yellow hoodie though. Does that count? Like, yeah, I have the one from Japan. Like the one I just bought the like XXL size because I'm 6 feet tall. Sorry, what was that? It's cutting out. If you could type that in the chat for me, my buddy. I see you typing. I see you typing. Yeah, it's the Jeff Bezos brand Reki hoodie. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I want to do it, but like, I also want my career to get better, and so I focus on that a lot. You know, like I don't have a whole lot of time. I mean, I don't even have time to play video games half the time anymore. I like have to find time to play more video games. It kind of sucks. So that's another long-winded answer to a simple question. Any other fun questions?
I do. So like just time, because I have a lot of time where I just sit at home. I've been creative brain coming up with like Pokemon teams for like other anime and anime characters, working on Dr. Stone ones. And I was wondering if you had any ideas of Pokemon you think would be good and fitting for Chrome.
Okay, well, all of them are rock type or steel. Because he's the gatherer, you know? Like, he loves his materials and stuff like that. Like, he needs, like, a Geodude and, like, a Roggenrola or something. Oh, man. But he's, like, smart, too. I wonder if, like, electricity could be in there somewhere. Is there, like, an electric rock Pokemon? Do we have that yet? I'm gonna look it up.
Dude, I believe it's electric and rock type.
I heard you say a thing. I didn't hear the name of the Pokemon, but I heard the rest of the sentence, so I'm gonna look it up myself.
Geodude line.
Oh yeah, yeah. The other version of Geodude, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe that one specifically because I don't know, because they brought electricity back. They invented electricity again, I guess. Honestly, for Chrome, my instinct is like a bunch of rock Pokemon. But if you wanted any sort of functionality behind that team, you'd probably have to get some Pokemon that cover for the weaknesses. So maybe throw in some steel.
Yeah, that'd be the smart thing, I guess.
Yeah, but like yeah. Just like one might be the most fitting to his personality.
Well, fitting to his personality is like anything excitable, you know? So like, I don't know, what's an excitable, my instinct is like, what's an excitable, is there an excitable rock Pokemon? I mean, there's a lot of excitable Pokemon that are like, Rah. I mean, Geodude is just like
Rock
this all the time. Which Pokemon, which was that?
Rock would be perfect.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cute.
But what about Lycanroc? Get Dawn Dusk.
There you go. I have to look them up because I'm like, I think I know which Pokemon these are, but I need to remember exactly.
I definitely wouldn't say Dusk on that one.
Do you have any other questions?
Do you have a favorite Pokemon?
Yeah, so my favorite Pokemon is Heracross.
Oh, cool.
I also really like Sandshrew. He's a pretty close second. I don't know why. I just like them both a lot. They're fun. I like a lot of Pokemon. You know, I found recently that I think growing up and throughout most of my life, I don't want to say I had like a contrarian like point of view on who was my favorite characters, but generally like every kid I knew, his favorite color was blue, so I literally changed my favorite color from blue to like red when I was a kid, and it stayed that way. It actually is my favorite color now. But like, I usually don't want to pick the same character everyone else picks for their favorite. But lately, I've been like, I love Pikachu. Let's just admit it. I love Pikachu. It's a great design. It's cute. There's so much merch of Pikachu. It's fine. Pikachu's great. Not my favorite, but one of my top ones. Basic Pikachu.
Yeah, I do hate that people hate Pikachu because it's popular. And I'm like, I don't see you saying that about Charizard or Lucario.
I do hear that about Charizard, though. But it's, yeah, I mean, it just being, you know, like I was just saying, I was that way growing up, but like, it's to dislike something just because other people like it is kind of silly. I understand if it's like, oh, a show that someone really hyped up for you and you go in with these big expectations and it doesn't meet those expectations. But if it's just like your favorite character, and by character we mean Pokemon, so it doesn't even, like, all of them are different characters, so it's just about the design, really. Like, whatever. It's not worth it to be like, you like Charmander, well, I don't. So.
I also don't like that Pikachu was Raichu, because I always preferred Raichu personally.
Oh, yeah.
I was one of those people too for a long time, and I think it was just because I felt like Raichu was not given, like, you know, justice for Raichu kind of stuff. I'm like, why? There's no representation for Raichu in the whole series. You play Pokemon Yellow, you cannot get a Raichu. But now I'm like, Pikachu. I like Pikachu better, I think. But I still like Raichu too. Raichu's great. Don't get me wrong.
Pikachu gets a lot of attention too, doesn't it? Pichu and Pikachu, but no Raichu.
I used to try to play Pichu in Super Smash Bros. Melee just because I was like, he's cuter. He's got goggles on his head. I like that. But he wasn't very good.
Any other questions?
I have stuff I can talk about. I'll move back on to what we were talking about before. I'll just tell you guys about engineering.
Sure. Do you want to talk about engineering a bit?
Sure. So when I say engineering, you know, that means a lot of things. Specifically audio engineering, and for me, it's specifically for ADR, which is the process of like dubbing stuff. Because I don't really know. I'm not like, I wasn't trained in audio or music or anything like that. I have picked up everything along the way. But running an ADR session is basically, you know, the session being like the program. So we use Pro Tools most of the times, like knowing how to operate that and how to record people to it and let them see the footage that they're recording to at the time, and it'll just place it there, and then you can play it back exactly how it was. I learned that basically from the same opportunities I was mentioning earlier, where the one dude who knew how to engineer at Media Blasters in the first like year or two of my professional career was going to be out for a little bit. And so I was like, if you teach me what to do, I can do it. So he did. And I love that guy, but he was not hired to be an ADR engineer. He was hired to do other stuff for them, and he kind of just fell into it. So everything he learned from the internet. And so everything I learned was secondhand from the internet. Like, I learned from a dude who was not trained to do it. So it took me a number of years to actually figure out shortcuts and stuff like that. Man, it's so embarrassing, but we recorded, so Brittany and I, my wife, Brittany Lotta, and I own a studio called Coach a Sound. This is the recording booth for it if you record locally, but a lot of people record remote now. And we, Funimation hired us to do the English dubs of two shows in the last couple of years. One was Akudama Drive, which I love, and the other was Kemono Jihen, which I also love. And for both of those shows, the whole time, I had it set so my actors that we were recording remote, when I played back what they just did, I could no longer hear them live on their microphone. And so I had to just tell all of them that. So that's 24 episodes, about 24 weeks of my life, that I told all the actors, this is how this is going to be. And all I had to do to fix it was click one little green box on the track. It was always on screen. But I never knew about it because no one taught me how to do any of this. I just figured it out myself. I literally figured out that setting by doing like a test thing with another studio to like test out their connectivity and stuff just to help them out. And they shared their screen, and I saw that they had that green box lit up, and I was like, hey, what does that green box do? And they told me, and I like live on the line with them was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I made my life so much harder by not looking it up and trying to figure out how to do this. So all that is to say, I have gotten a lot better at engineering. That's something that you just do it over and over, and you get it. You just like look up shortcuts because you remember all the other ones. You don't have to like dedicate your actual memory to how to do certain things. You just instinctively know how to do it because you've done it enough times. But that came out of necessity as well, because someone wasn't going to be at Media Blasters. And now I engineer at our studio, and I write at our studio, but I also write for other places like Crunchyroll or Funimation previously. And then I pretty much only direct here. I did some sub-directing at Funimation too before, but so it's a lot of like, oh, I'm an actor. I want to be an actor. Oops, doesn't pay very well. What can I do related to this to supplement my income and to make a good process, because a lot of us as actors have worked with I'll just say bad directors. You always just smile and deal with it, but directing is absolutely like the number one thing in our industry that people get thrown into when they don't know how to do it, and they skate by because as long as a product gets recorded, even if it's not particularly great, people may not notice, and it'll just go out the door. And I've worked with bad engineers, and I've worked on a lot of bad scripts, and so having an idea in my head, being like, what is the ideal experience for me as an actor in the booth? What would I want to do if I were in these positions? I think it helped motivate me to want to do those things. 'Cause I'm like, well, I can make a better experience for someone else, and then maybe they'll learn that, and I'll get a better experience, maybe. so. Oh yes, I do. I'm looking at the chat. I do like random questions.
Any other questions?
So with Chrome, are there any characters that you think like have the best chemistry with Chrome, like in the way that they get along?
I mean, it's hard not to say Senku, but the thing about Dr. Stone that I feel like happens is as more characters get introduced, there are plenty of episodes that feel like it's the Senku show, and all of his friends chime in to say like one thing every couple of minutes, So like there are episodes, season 2 of Dr. Stone, Chrome has it's like Prison Break or something, right? It's almost entirely Chrome. It's like his episode, and I loved that. And it's like 2 episodes prior, he had like, or not 2 episodes, let's say 4 episodes prior, a few episodes later, he had like 3 lines, and it was at the like 2-minute mark, or the 10-minute mark, and the 16-minute mark, So in those kinds of episodes, there's not a whole lot of interaction going on because it's such an ensemble cast, for us as actors at least, because we just come in and do our lines. But for the episodes where he's actually featured, he almost doesn't get along with some of the other characters like Ginro and Kinro. Not like poorly, but like they kind of give each other crap. So Senku's the one that I want to say yeah to.
I mean, options I really like actually. Like yeah. I really like Crow. They seem to have a nice thing.
It glitched right as you said. I really like, and then right there it glitched. So what was it that you really like?
Chrome and Kohaku.
Oh yeah. No, they're great. I like them too. I especially like their interactions where everyone's like, Kohaku and Ruri are almost identical looking, and Chrome is like, I like Ruri, and it's like, I don't care about you, Kohaku, like, you're cool, you're my friend, whatever, but like I have no attraction to you, like, don't worry about it. I'm like, cool, that's like I like that, because some anime can get a little weird about that kind of stuff, where like, that's the guy who's just really into anything that moves, he actually has like a love interest. I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. But I fear that they won't do anything with it. I feel like nothing will ever happen between Chrome and Ruri, but at least we have the sibling-like relationship between Chrome and Kohaku to see in the meantime.
Yeah, I feel like all these, some of the more obvious romances, like Taiju and Yuzuriha and Rome and Ruri, like, that it's going to be like, they're talking about like how much they love each other all the time. Nothing happens at the end. And I'd be like, well, that wasn't really for anything, was it?
Yeah, man. Dr. Stone's one of those shows that, like, I know what happens, but I haven't read it because Brittany has read some of it after a certain point, and we've like read stuff on the wiki pages and stuff like that. Because once you're in like a long running show, if it has the source material, I want to know what's going to happen, but I don't want to get it spoiled such that I can't really enjoy the anime so much, because I generally like anime better than manga. Even though I think like the art is usually better in manga form because you don't have to draw 60 of the same image per second, you know, like you just draw one cool image, of course it's going to be better. But I just, you know, music helps, and the performances, I guess because I'm an actor, that's a big part of it for me. Being able to hear someone bring that character to life really makes something more enjoyable for me, so I prefer anime. So I know what happens in Dr. Stone. I know how it ends. But I don't know the beats in between. And I'm like, who's that guy? Like, I'll see a character and I'm like, I've been seeing that guy for years and I don't know who it is. I have no idea what the plot is that introduces them. Can't wait to get to that. So my relationship with that product is interesting.
While I read the manga.
What was that last part? Sorry.
Sometimes I get confused while I'm reading the manga because from like the arc right after the arc that's coming up with season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know anything about that, but I think there's something, and he's like, oh look, here it is, and I'm like, this goddamn series.
You know, at some point it's like
everything is placed for convenience.
I was gonna say, but like at some point it would be frustrating if all they did was struggle for every little thing constantly, you know? Like I get that criticism because it's like, well, you want to see them work, but if working is just going to be them looking and not finding the thing for chapters and chapters and chapters, you would hate that too, you know? So compared to the alternative, I don't mind that kind of stuff, the convenience stuff. I think about the amount of shows I watch where it's like, oh, this person ran into this other person because they were out getting food at a convenience store at 2 a.m. in the morning. It's like, why? You know, like, coincidences happen in real life, but like it is a common storytelling thing, and when it's used too much, I agree it can be annoying. But I don't mind it for a show like this that's all about like progression. I don't want to see them have to do the exact same thing over and over again, because guess what? That's what real production is in real life. You found a reserve of, I don't know, this material you need for this thing. Oops, you ran out. Go find another one. That sucks.
Yeah, but like in the instance I'm talking about, there's no context or subtext whatsoever. Look, hemp. And I'm like, what are you going to do with that?
There's a lot of things you can do with it.
A lot of eyebrow raising lines from him. Like when they first. Not as great as what's on the shelves, but it's okay. And I'm like, you know that.
It glitched a couple of times in that, but I'm like, I think I understood. Sorry.
Yeah. So, can I ask a question about the?
Did you say the thing? Did you the and then you said the thing because it stopped right after
The booth, was that something that you guys had already built, or was this like a COVID thing that you guys?
We already had it before.
We
already had it before COVID, which allowed us to help a lot of other places. So this is it's a whisper room is the product name. It's outfitted with a whole bunch of other stuff that we've modified to it. You know, some of the soundproofing came with it, some of it didn't. I literally have right now. This is a pillowcase over the window here, because it's a reflective piece of glass right there, and you don't want so much reflective stuff, so we have this softer material covering it because that will make less bouncing stuff. I've got a Chrome and a Yuzuriha body pillow in here for fun, because it's a fun place to put it, and they're soft, and it will help with soundproofing. Yeah, you can buy them from like Hot Topic. Brittany and I were like, well, we're buying those. Of course we're buying those if they're from. This shirt's from Hot Topic. Why is Hot Topic the anime place? It always has been, but it was always for the edgy shows when I was younger. So I'm like, yeah, Dr. Stone, skate, okay. So this booth we bought when we moved down to Texas because I was working on Yu-Gi-Oh, which I mentioned before is about 3 years of a commitment, and I was one of the main characters, so I was in the show very frequently. And we only did 2 years of it at that point. So there were about 50 episodes left. And like, it was also like my arc, of course, like my character's arc is towards the end of the show. So I was like, I'm going to move, but I'm going to buy a professional quality booth and we can record remote if you guys are cool with that. And they were cool with it, luckily. The way we did it was strange, and my understanding for the people who worked on Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, which was the next show once COVID hit, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, which has so far been entirely done remote, is similar, where despite the show being ADR, meaning we have footage we have to match, they don't show you the footage as you're recording it for some reason. When nowadays we all are like, okay, screen share the video over Zoom or Skype or something, and then connect via an audio connecting thing such as Source Connect, which is a big one. And we'll record you via Source Connect into our Pro Tools session locally, and we're sending you the video. And it's okay if you don't see the video perfectly, as long as you get an idea of what you're doing. We can tell you if it's like short or needs to pause somewhere, something like that. We'll work it out. Yu-Gi-Oh! They just didn't do that at all. They were like, yeah, I don't know, that'll work. It'll be fine. And they made it work somehow. But so I essentially bought this for that reason, and also so we can continue working with clients like Media Blasters. While working in a market where it's, one, way cheaper to live. It's so much cheaper to live in Texas than it is to live in New York, where we were. And two, work with a large pool of actors who are familiar with this process, anime and ADR, and how dubbing works. In New York, there's some of that work, but not a huge amount of actors there for it, but here there were a lot. So we moved here with the intention and had all that stuff. I did my last 50 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! With this booth, and it was a great tool for auditioning for stuff and working on stuff online. Like I mentioned earlier, when I first started, I was, working on online projects and amateur or what is it, indie video games, stuff like that. Those would all be record from home. You record yourself and they just put it in the game. They barely even directed you at all, if they did. So we could use it for that kind of purpose, and all of a sudden our quality was professional. It wasn't like, oh, it's good enough. It's like, no, this is like good shit. This is high quality. This can go to theaters. This can go on TV. Like, this is great. And then when COVID hit, we were like, okay, so we already have the programs to record people remote because we've done it a couple of times. How do we do this with ADR? Can we just screen share? We basically figured it out. Not that other people didn't. I'm not trying to say we invented remote recording in COVID or anything like that, but we were on the phone with producers at studios and being like, here's how you can do this. Here you go. Look, do this here. Because we just wanted everyone to be able to work again. There's no benefit to us hiding that information from anyone. So I don't think anything in this booth has really changed because of COVID. It all would have been on the software end of the computer I have outside the booth. And then the fact that we were like, well, we got to hardwire the computer. That's it. So we've got a wire running to the computer, and that's it. But we did have it before COVID, and that's what makes it a little frustrating when places are like, well, we're not doing remote anymore. I'm like, yeah, but this booth is the same quality as the booth you have. So what does it matter? It's a little less convenient, but if your concern is quality, this should be fine. This is like a professional thing. You can record really high quality stuff if you treat a room or like a closet well. And this is, don't get me wrong, this setup is like 5 figures. It took a lot of saving and we built it up over a long period of time. Like, just the raw booth itself was something is thousands of dollars. But this is good. This is a good quality thing. So yeah, we've had it for years. And we were ready to go right away, and none of the companies that had any work were ready to go right away. So we didn't work for months at the beginning of COVID, just like everyone else. So.
Well, any Last chance.
You can do. Oh, do you have something?
I have one. What's your opinion of people that Reki and Longa should be in a relationship?
Should be. um, so I'll tell you my like experience with that show in regards to that. When I watched it, in Japanese, I watched it every week, so I was ready. Not every actor has the time to do that, unfortunately, for everything they work on. But like when I'm a big part, such as the main character, I'm like, well, I should watch this so I know what's going on. In case I'm working with a bad director, not that the directors are bad on Skate at all. Don't worry. But so I watched it, and as I watched it, I was like, I mean, they could be into each other. I don't know. I don't feel like the story's telling me they are, but whatever. And then I looked into supplementary material about the show, and such as who worked on the show and who made the concept and what they've worked on in the past and how they treated the characters in official material outside of the show, which the show has a lot of hands on it, a lot of investors who have to sign off on every little thing that happens in the show. So maybe the creators didn't get the chance to put exactly what they want in a show. I don't know that that's the case for this show. I'm just posing a hypothetical. And I was like, oh, they're totally supposed to be together. I get it. Like the creator worked on Free, which I watched, and when I was younger, I was like, I don't know. I mean, maybe they like each other, but I don't care. But again, it's like, no, this show is clearly some of these characters are meant to be into each other. They just don't. It's this kind of show where they like don't outright show it. And then I don't even remember some of the stuff they do. Like there's the supplementary material about like, it's what is it, a fantasy story? Like Reki is Cinderella, Cindereki, it's like, all right, well, like they're playing the parts that are supposed to be together in the story. So that's of course an indicator. So I feel like, yeah, I mean, why not? I'm not out here being like, because they're I don't know how old they are, 15, 16 or something. I'm not like, yeah, these young kids getting together. I'm just like, yeah, cool. If they like each other, they like each other, and I will play the character that way, absolutely. And there's, I would say there's like a fine line when you're actually performing between love for someone that I don't know about you guys. I tell my friends I love them all the time. Like especially since COVID, I think we all were like, bad shit happens in the world again. Sorry for language. Bad stuff happens in the world all the time, and it's not worth it to not tell the people you care about that you care about them. And so, like, the love I have for my friends is not the same as the love I have for my partner, but it's not incredibly different. So, doing the show, even if I don't have a solid answer on yes or no whether this character feels this way about this other character, I know he cares for him and I know he loves him in some way, and so I can play it that way, and it's going to come out pretty similarly. So in summation, I do think they're probably meant to be together. I'm not like sneaking it in the show, like I'm gonna make that the case or anything like that with my performance, but I'm performing it as true as I think it should be to the character. And I do think that they're probably, I don't think they'll ever get together in the actual show, because I feel like if they don't hint harder and like make it any sort of, I don't know, official thing in season 1 of the show, if they ever make a season 2, I know they said they're gonna make more of something, then I don't think they're ever gonna get to, unless it ends up like one of those shows like, I mean, I don't want to spoil shows, but there's a lot of American shows that at the very end of the show, two gay characters finally get together or something, and it's like, hey, guess what? It's because this show was popular and we're ending it, and the investors can't say anything anymore. Like, no one can tell us, no, we can't do this, because it's going out the door and we're not looking for more funding after this. So those awful, bigoted people who have the money can't tell them no. So I don't expect it to happen in the show, but I do kind of feel like it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
So.
Great. We're just the end here. Do you want to like give us some info for where we can follow you? Keep up with your career and stuff.
Sure. I'm most active on Twitter at Matt Shipman VO. I also have a TikTok account where I have significantly more followers than I do on Twitter, but I don't really like TikTok, so I don't use it very often. But I think it's also at Matt Shipman VO, maybe, or it's just Matt Shipman. I don't know. You'll find it. It's the one with a lot of subscribers with my name. And then Instagram is just at Matt Shipman. That's mostly pictures of my dog, but I highly suggest that. I have a very cute dog. Is she over here? Yeah, I can't show you, but my dog's on. We have this beanbag chair of Boo from Mario, like this big beanbag chair, and we have it up against a window, and it's my dog's favorite place to lay. She's this tiny little Shiba Inu. It's adorable. Follow me on Instagram for that content. Yeah. Thanks for coming, guys. This was fun. I hope you have a good time at the rest of the con, and I'll hopefully talk to you another time.
Thank you. And we do have someone who wants to take a selfie with you.
Sure.
That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me just like make sure my hair's a little less messy than it's been the last hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so,
I'll just like smile and look at the camera, I guess.
they're on your right.
You said something and it just cut out, so I don't.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Oh, we got more lined up. Yeah.
All right.
Hi.
They're here. And... and then we got one more. Oh, hold on, there's a says internet connection.
There we go. If I can stand on my toes.
I got it. All right. Well,
Did I look
you.
away at the last second? You got it? I didn't screw
We
it
got
up.
it.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Always great having you.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. Thank
Appreciate you guys too. This is fun. I'll talk to you another time. See ya.